Flying through space, a high-tech view from above uncovers a strange expanse on the surface of Mars.
This find is potentially huge for the future of space travel.
Cutting-edge technology looking down from space reveals a centuries-old legend in Earth's oceans.
Something weird is definitely going on here.
NASA probes spot a vast hexagon swirling around Saturn's North Pole.
This is honestly one of the weirdest things in the universe.
And satellites capture a perfect donut-shaped lake carved into the landscape.
This is really weird. So what happened here?
Everywhere we look on our planet, there's evidence of the past. In nature, in buildings, in relics. Each holds a mystery that technology now allows us to see from above. What new secrets are revealed? In the 21st century, the view from above has reached ever greater heights, uncovering mysteries not just on Earth, but across our solar system. As we search for clues on Earth to solve these cosmic enigmas, technology reveals that outer space holds answers to some of our own abiding secrets, and may even hold the key to the future of human space travel. The red planet Mars is Earth's most tempting neighboring planet.
Mars really does feel like the next frontier in space exploration.
Since the 1960s, we've sent probes and orbiters to explore the planet from above, searching for clues about its history and what it can reveal about planet Earth.
Today, there are even rovers on the surface, and space scientists are looking forward to the day humans can fly a mission to Mars.
To chase that dream, scientists investigate the Martian surface with the images and data captured from above to find places where humans could land.
A landing site needs to be close to major areas of interest, including where signs of alien life could be found, and any resources that could support a human mission.
And one team of researchers examining a possible Martian landing site finds something astonishing.
It's amazing. I mean, you think of Mars, you expect this boring desert of flat orange nothing. But this is stunning.
Images captured of the Martian surface reveal an unexpected bright area.
This is wild, because you don't expect anything on Mars to look like this. It's just completely the wrong shape and color.
It's not the jagged black of volcanic rock, and it's not the red waves of iron-rich sand dunes. So what's happening on Mars to make these light tones?
And this is pretty big. It's around 6 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide. That's 7 times bigger than Central Park.
Millions of kilometers further away from the sun, in the Kuiper Belt, advanced space technology looking down from above may uncover a clue.
In the summer of 2015, the New Horizons probe reached Pluto, over 9 years after it was launched from Earth.
Until this major milestone, the best view we had of Pluto was from the Hubble Space Telescope. So when the first images of the dwarf planet finally reached us, the difference was staggering.
New Horizons captured a huge, bright feature on the side of the planet that looks like a heart.
The size of this is staggering, about 1,600 kilometers across. That's over 3 times longer than the Grand Canyon.
But what is making this huge, light-colored shape on Pluto?
Pluto is over 3 billion kilometers from the sun on average, making it pretty chilly and unbelievably frigid, minus 232 degrees Celsius.
It's so cold that nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide in its thin atmosphere can actually freeze.
And this deep space ice collects on unique terrain. Most of the heart is this massive basin that's filled in with a thick layer of these weird kinds of ice.
Could the bright area on Mars be a vast ice field like Pluto's heart? And will these secrets bring humans closer to exploring Mars?
Mars's atmosphere is more than 95% carbon dioxide, so would it be possible for that to solidify into an ice patch on the surface?
Mars does sometimes have ice and frost made of CO2, but it doesn't always stick around.
Mars isn't as cold as Pluto. For carbon dioxide to stay solid as ice, it needs to be pretty cold, around negative 125 degrees Celsius.
At the poles or overnight, no problem. Temperatures can drop to minus 130 or even minus 150 Celsius in winter at the poles. But when the sun hits, everything changes.
On Earth, we know frozen or solid carbon dioxide as dry ice. And if you think about what happens to that when it hits normal temperatures, you can start to visualize what happens on Mars every time the sun starts to warm up the surface.
It's something called sublimation. It's when something goes from a frozen solid to a gas so fast that it just skips the liquid stage altogether.
And this weird light area on Mars is right by the equator. While it can get down to below negative 70 degrees Celsius at night, this isn't quite cold enough for CO2 ice.
And at noon, it can get up to a balmy 20 degrees Celsius at the surface. But even then, because of the thin atmosphere, if you go up just 1.5 meters above the ground, you're already down to 0 degrees Celsius.
That's far too warm for any CO2 ice to really stick around.
So what else could be going on? What other clues can we find?
A closer look at the NASA images suggests something surprising.
This bright area on Mars is full of geographic features that look shockingly familiar.
There may be a clue closer to home, here on Earth, in Iceland.
Iceland is known as the land of fire and ice, and for good reason. It has some of the world's most active volcanoes and some of the largest glaciers.
This is Vatnajökull, one of the largest ice caps in Europe.
This massive chunk of slow-flowing ice covers over 7,500 square kilometers.
There is more to this chilling beauty than meets the eye. Active volcanoes are hiding under the ice.
But it's the glaciers that hold the clue to the strange, bright region on Mars, particularly the dramatic Svinafellsjökull glacial tongue.
If you look at the glacier tongue, where it hits the sea, you can see some cracks in the ice that are starting to spread outward. And if you look at the shapes, they look an awful lot like the ones on Mars.
There are also bands of earth and rock in these really long, wavy piles. These are called moraines, material that's either been picked up by the sides of the glacier or pushed together by the front.
And they create shapes nearly identical to the strange area on Mars.
And this wasn't the only icy clue in Europe.
Around 2,600 kilometers to the southeast is another stunning ice form, high in the Austrian Alps. This is the Pasterze Glacier.
Climate change is chasing this epic glacier into the past. It's been receding since the 1850s. 100 years ago, it was over 11 kilometers long. Today, it's less than 8 kilometers long and is dropped in mass by over 50%.
But for now, it still holds clues to the Martian mystery.
Its stunning crevasse-like shapes reveal signs of the flow of water and ice over the terrain.
Circular crevasses with these concentric rings of cracks can happen when there's water flowing under or on top of or even within the glacier. These wear away at the ice, and then the ice gets weak spots, and when it gets unstable enough, it collapses.
And these cracks that look like hash marks are called tic-tac-toe crevasses. They occur when the glacier ice flows on top of a higher area in the landscape, which stresses it in different directions, creating this unique crack pattern.
And when you look at them side by side, these look uncannily like the fracture shapes on the Martian surface.
The weird shape on Mars has the hallmark features of a glacier.
Could a glacier be the secret to this unexpected feature on the Martian surface?
If we're able to find a source of water, even if it's frozen ice, that would make further explorations of Mars, especially by humans, so much easier. It could change everything.
Water could be used for everything from drinking to feeding plants. It could even be converted into rocket fuel.
But there's a problem.
The satellites and probes that look at Mars from above have found signs of water ice glaciers, but there's a key difference.
Any glaciers at the surface are nowhere near the equator, and that is because of sublimation.
Water is really unstable on Mars. and that's because of its thin atmosphere. The atmospheric pressure is more than 100 times less than here on Earth.
Because of the low atmospheric pressure on Mars, instead of liquid water boiling at 100 degrees Celsius, like it does on Earth, it actually turns into gas at around 10 degrees Celsius. Basically, if it's not frozen, it's boiling or evaporating away.
So if it can't be a surface water glacier, what's going on?
What clues can be found by the advanced probes searching Mars from above?
The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, has been flying high above the red planet for over 17 years. Packed with high-tech equipment, it offers a crucial clue.
When the researchers looked at the data from the MRO, they found that the light area was actually a kind of salt.
But how did this salt appear?
And how can salt on Mars make shapes just like those we see in glaciers here on Earth?
A mystery whose answer may still hold the key to human missions to Mars.
There's a clue on Earth that provides the final piece of the puzzle.
Hiding only a few decades in the past, in the bright red waters of Bolivia's Laguna Colorada, is a staggering secret.
The lakes of this region, in the high plateau known as the Altiplano, are extremely salty and form large and dramatic salt islands in the brilliant waters.
But in the 1980s, scientists discovered something incredible hiding in these salty shells: ancient ice.
The researchers believe that this ice was formed during the Little Ice Age, which started in the Middle Ages.
This thick layer of salt insulated this ice against melting, so it could stick around for decades or even centuries, even though in the bright sunlight, the summer temperatures get to like 16 degrees Celsius.
And these aren't just little ice cubes. These ice-cored salt islands were as large as 1.5 kilometers across and 7 meters high.
Now, it's unknown if the ice persists to this day, but the hidden ice implies something staggering about the shape on Mars.
Could the salt and the glacial-looking terrain at this strange bright area on Mars be a sign of ice hiding below?
Experts believe there is a way this could happen. First, a long time ago, a Martian volcano could have erupted right next to a water ice glacier.
The hot ash would have instantly melted the top of the ice, and as it evaporated away, it would have left a layer of salt behind, hidden by the dark ash.
Eventually, Martian winds would have blown the ash away, leaving behind the bright salt layer, which would hold the shape of the glacier beneath.
Even though this isn't 100% confirmation, it's really important, because if it is there on the surface, that changes everything.
Glaciers have been found on Mars before, but in the unfriendly and extreme environments at the Martian poles, where the icy temperatures and long winter nights would wreak havoc on humans and electronics alike.
And at such cold temperatures, simply turning that ice into liquid water could be a near impossible task.
But this glacier is at the much more accessible, warm, and sunny equator, and digging through a crust of salt is going to be far easier than trying to break up polar ice in negative 50 degrees Celsius weather.
If there really is ice hiding under this salt, it'll be a total game changer.
This shocking discovery on Mars is just the beginning.
This find is potentially huge for the future of space travel. The possibility of accessible frozen water makes the logistics of a mission to the Red Planet a little simpler. Mind you, not simple, but just a little bit easier.
What we're seeing here in this view from above, even though it's on another planet, could change the direction of human history.
Advanced satellite technology in space, looking down from above, captures planet Earth like never before.
The US has all kinds of cutting-edge equipment in space, and a couple of satellites have something called the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite, or VIRS.
It's amazing. Sensors collect visible and infrared images, which can be used to do everything from predicting the weather to tracking fires and even sensing changes in the ocean color.
And crucially, it has something called the day-night band sensor, which can see in very low light conditions to capture things at night that we can't see with the naked eye.
And this new view from above captures a long-hidden secret in the nighttime darkness of Earth's oceans. In the summer of 2019, off the coast of Java, this technology reveals an eerie shape emerging from the black ocean waters.
Something weird is definitely going on here.
From the satellite, it looks so otherworldly and ethereal.
This looks like an abstract work of art. I see this glowing cloud floating in the black.
It's paler than the city lights on the island of Java, but it's definitely brighter than the nighttime ocean should be.
It's hard to tell exactly what's going on here, but it's huge.
This shape covers a massive area, 100,000 square kilometers. That's like the size of Iceland.
This strange, vast shape moves over time and raises countless questions.
What is causing this enormous glow-in-the-dark specter?
Is this some kind of weird natural phenomenon, or is it caused by humans?
How long has it been here?
Is there any other technology in space that could offer a hint as to what we're seeing here?
Over 8,000 kilometers to the northeast, off the coast of Siberia, satellites looking down from space capture a possible clue in the Sea of Okhotsk. Familiar-looking shapes swirling in the water.
In 2023, NASA captured this as thinning ice breaks up and starts to flow with the spinning ocean currents.
As sea ice melts, swirls of white spin off into the ocean. Here, it covers hundreds of kilometers.
These happen here every year, and sometimes last for months. It's even appearing earlier and earlier as sea ice breaks up sooner thanks to climate change.
This swirling ice, seen from space, looks a lot like the shape we see in the images from around Java.
Does that mean that forming or melting sea ice could be behind the mysterious swirl in the Indian Ocean?
Further investigation from above uncovers some shocking clues. This isn't the only place this strange phenomenon appears.
The VIIRS equipment finds several more instances of these strange glowing patches of sea.
These weird phenomena are spotted off the coast of East Africa and in the waters of Southeast Asia.
And there's something that all of those sites have in common. They're all in warm, tropical waters.
That means there's no way these could be caused by melting or forming sea ice. So what else could cause huge areas of the ocean to get so bright?
Perhaps a record-breaking event in Spain can reveal a clue. In January of 2020, the Mediterranean is hit by a major storm.
Winter Storm Gloria batters Spain with unparalleled heavy rain, high winds, and blizzards.
And the quiet seaside town of Tossa de Mar faces something staggering.
Storms can cause something called a storm surge, where the sea level rises up higher than normal and then floods coastal areas.
And Gloria's storm surge poured more than just water into the streets of Tossa de Mar. The town suddenly flooded with a staggering amount of foam.
Sea foam occurs all the time and all around the globe. It's made when the agitation of wind and waves stirs up the organic material, pollutants, surfactants, and general bits and bobs that are found in seawater.
To get sea foam in these large quantities, there has to be a lot of dissolved organic material, like a big algal bloom getting broken down. And you have to pair that with choppy ocean waters, like a big cyclonic storm.
Could the churning ocean waves make a giant island of sea foam visible from space? Or is there something else hiding in the ocean depths?
Maybe it's not a sign of organic material breaking down. Maybe there's something alive down there.
There may be a clue in an old maritime legend.
Over centuries, there have been reports from sailors of a very weird phenomenon, something they called milky seas.
Researchers poring over ships' logs and other historical records found over 200 reports of vast stretches of ocean emitting a startling white or green glow.
When those are mapped alongside the 12 instances captured by modern satellites, you can see that it continues a pattern.
These rare glowing ocean waters are most often found in the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean.
So are these ocean hazes seen on satellite the milky seas of maritime legend? And are there any contemporary on-the-ground sightings that could back this up?
In an unbelievable moment of luck, the vessel Ganesha happened to pass through the tail of ocean haze captured by satellite. And what they record from the ocean surface is astonishing.
The crew described a vast and steady glow coming from beneath the ocean surface.
Even more amazing, they catch it on camera. And that gives another huge clue to what's happening.
The crew see the ocean glow as a pale white or green because their perception of color is affected by the dark and moonless night. The human eye contains two types of receptor cells, rods and cones. Cones help us to see color, while rods work in low light to help us see in grayscale. Cone cells need lots and lots of light to work, which is why color vision decreases at night or in other dark conditions.
But the cameras on the ship aren't affected the same way human eyes are, so they capture the truth, a glowing greenish blue haze that spreads out for miles.
It's a critical revelation and raises the question, what on earth can make the ocean glow from below?
There are some other glowing ocean phenomena that can give us a clue.
There are parts of the world where the impact of waves on the shore can make a magical blue sparkle. Even the motion of fish or dolphins swimming in the water can create the same kind of glow.
These stunning phenomena are caused by a type of plankton. Tiny living things are producing light with their bodies through chemical reactions. They give off light when they're moved around.
But these creatures only emit little flashes of light, so it looks like it sparkles. That's not what we're seeing off the island of Java. So could it be another form of hidden life that's making the sea glow?
There may be a clue in northern Iran, where the salty Lake Urmia makes a statement visible from space.
In these satellite images, you can see that this lake actually changes color. There's nothing subtle about it.
Scientists believe the stunning color shift is caused by microscopic organisms, either algae or bacteria. In very bright and salty conditions, the algae, Dunaliella salina, turns from green to red as it makes these protective chemicals.
The bacteria, Halobacteriaceae, actually produce a red pigment that converts light into energy. So when they appear in large enough numbers, they make the water look red.
Lake Urmia shows us that there are microscopic creatures that can change the color of water for extended periods. So could invisible bacteria be behind the glowing milky seas as well?
The latest research suggests that a bioluminescent bacteria known as Vibrio harveyi could be the secret ingredient behind these milky seas.
The bacteria can thrive under certain rare conditions, and when they grow to huge numbers, they collectively begin to glow.
Glowing is an adaptation that in other ocean creatures can be anything from a lure for food, to a warning, to a means of burning off UV radiation.
But what's driving these glowing bacteria is still a mystery.
Milky seas are rare enough that spotting them and getting to them quickly enough to test the waters for bacteria is tricky. So we won't know for sure if Vibrio harveyi is the culprit until more research is done.
And this maritime legend may hold hints of something even more staggering.
Glowing bacteria may hold a clue not simply to Earth's Milky Sea's mysteries, but to life on other planets.
A lot of people think that since bioluminescence works so well and it's evolved so many times independently, it's one of the key things we should be looking for when we look for life on other worlds.
With tools like VIIRS pointed toward outer space, could we uncover a Milky Sea on another planet? Only time will tell, but it's a tantalizing possibility.
In 1997, the Cassini orbiter launches into the skies, beginning a 3.4 billion kilometer journey through space.
Its mission? An in-depth examination of Saturn from above.
As Cassini comes down over the North Pole, it sees something truly incredible.
This is amazing. There's what looks like a perfect hexagon right at the top of the planet.
This is honestly one of the weirdest things in the universe.
It seems too geometrically perfect to be real. And this thing is unbelievably massive. Each side is 13,800 kilometers long, and it's almost 25,000 kilometers across.
You could fit almost 4 Earths in there.
How is it possible to have what looks to be a near perfect hexagon at the North Pole of Saturn?
I mean, what is going on here? What is this thing made of?
Why is it there?
Saturn is over 1 billion kilometers away from Earth. So how can we investigate such a distant mystery?
When it comes to solving mysteries like this, sometimes you have to start a little closer to home.
Could clues to this strange phenomenon be found on Earth?
It seems odd to think about, but there are actually naturally occurring hexagons all over our planet.
From beehives to snowflakes, ancient rock formations to the pinpoint lenses of dragonfly eyes.
But why does nature love this shape so much?
Perhaps a clue can be found in the heights of Bolivia's Altiplano, where a vast plain of white can be seen from space.
This is the Salar de Uyuni. It covers over 10,000 square kilometers, making it the largest salt flat in the world. It's about the same size as the big island of Hawaii.
And viewed from above, stunning patterns in these ancient salts form a familiar shape.
There are hexagonal formations all across the surface, around 1 or 2 meters across.
But what drives the salt into the hexagon shapes?
For years, scientists believed that the salt was forming hexagonal ridges from cracking under the pressure of contracting.
This is something that can happen in cooling lava, and we can see the results in impressive rock formations like the Devil's Tower in Wyoming and the Giant's Causeway in Ireland.
These kinds of shapes form because as the lava cools, it contracts. These contractions stress the cooling rock, which cracks, forming these very efficient shapes.
And that just happens to be at 120-degree angles, and those are the angles that make a hexagon.
The latest research reveals the secret behind the salt flat hexagons is actually in the movement of water.
What's happening at the salt flats is really happening in the water underneath the crust, and a phenomenon called convection.
Technically, convection is just the transfer of heat across a space by the movement of a fluid.
The warmer, less dense parts will rise, while the cooler, more dense material will sink down.
At the surface, water evaporates, leaving behind ridges of salt that mirror the patterns of movement hidden under the surface.
This movement tends to form polygonal shapes, and in perfect conditions where there is nothing to interrupt the flow, convection loves to make hexagonal patterns.
So, could the same forces that make hexagons on Earth be what's happening on Saturn?
But Saturn's skies aren't made of water.
There isn't even land on Saturn. It's a gas giant.
Gas giants are huge planets made mainly of gases like helium and hydrogen, which surround a comparatively smaller solid core.
So you've got to wonder if the same kind of motion in water on Earth can happen in gas on a much larger scale.
Perhaps images from the Cassini orbiter can provide a clue. To the naked eye, Saturn's hexagon appears pale yellow and blue. But the bright shades of the false color images taken right above the pole uncovers depth and details inside this vast alien shape.
Those different colors indicate how deep you are in the hexagon. The redder colors are lower down, the blue is higher up.
So we can see that this isn't just right at the very top of the atmosphere. This has some real depth to it.
And crucially, looking straight down from above like this, Cassini also shows you that the hexagon is rotating.
So how could a perfect shape like this hold together in the swirling gaseous atmosphere?
There may be a clue hidden in Earth's skies.
Just like in the water underneath the salt flats, convection also happens in the atmosphere.
Convection is behind the creation of clouds and thunderstorms.
And it's the key driver of one of the most powerful phenomena on Earth, hurricanes.
Could an epic cyclonic storm be responsible for Saturn's hexagon?
But there's a problem. This hexagon isn't like Earth storms.
In 1981, the Voyager 2 space probe approaches Saturn. And this historic view from above reveals something shocking when it sees Saturn's North Pole.
And what did they find? A hexagon.
And since that first finding, when Saturn's tilted just right, we've even been able to spot it from Earth.
This strange shape has been sitting right here at Saturn's North Pole for decades.
But how could a cyclone last for such a long time?
A clue lies over 600 million kilometers away, where a space landmark on another gas giant stands out. Jupiter's famous red spot.
The red spot on Jupiter is iconic.
There have been records of a red spot on Jupiter since the 1600s. And while we can't be totally sure it's the same one, it sure looks similar.
For more modern records, we know that Jupiter's red spot is at least 150 years old. Now, if those 17th century images are of the same spot, it could be over 350 years old.
So is there something about a gas planet atmosphere that can make these enormous storms live for decades or even centuries?
Unlike Earth and other rocky planets, gas planet atmospheres can stretch for thousands of kilometers before you reach the core.
Basically, gas giants just don't experience the same kinds of factors we have here on Earth that make our atmosphere so changeable from day to day. So if something gets going, chances are it's gonna keep going.
It's an important clue, but is Saturn's hexagon a cyclonic storm like Jupiter's red spot? Or is there something more going on?
A closer look at Saturn's hexagon reveals something staggering.
How crazy is this? The center looks like a hurricane.
This thing's huge. The eye of this thing is 2,000 kilometers across. That's 50 times bigger than the eye of a hurricane on Earth.
But this stunning whirlwind is only a small piece of the giant hexagon. What other forces could be behind this colossal mystery?
With a shape like this right at the center, it sure seems like there's some potent convection happening in the atmosphere here. But could that have any connection to the whole hexagon?
In 2020, Harvard scientists investigate, running a simulation on NASA's supercomputers to test their theory.
One that focused on the sheer size of Saturn's atmosphere.
Their model imagined clouds and winds going down to 10% of the planet's radius, so like 6,000 kilometers deep. Then they started looking at the kinds of wind patterns that happen when you combine the planet's rotation and that really, really deep convection.
Let's remember convection. Hot goes up, cold goes down, is behind the hexagons in our salt flats on Earth and the power behind hurricanes.
Their 3D model showed something really amazing. The thermal convection spontaneously makes exactly the right kinds of patterns all over the planet, including at the pole. Deep under the surface, there are these vortices, these cyclones that kind of pinch the jet stream into that hexagon shape. Because those air movements are deep, they're stable. So the forms they make stick around for decades.
But this is space we're talking about. We can't close the case just yet.
These are just computer models based on what we can see from Cassini and a whole lot of guessing. If we really want to learn more, we got to send a probe right into the hexagon. And that's probably at least a few years away. Until we get to the ringed planet ourselves, Earth is going to be the only laboratory we have to learn about how it all works.
Far above the Canadian landscape, satellites looking down from space spot something uncanny among the lakes of northern Saskatchewan.
There are over 100,000 lakes and rivers in Saskatchewan, mainly left behind by Ice Age glaciers.
When seen from the skies, one of these lakes really stands out.
There's a body of water that looks almost like an eye. It's almost perfectly round and has an island right in the center.
Which kind of makes the whole thing look like a giant Cheerio.
Now, the lake isn't huge. It's about 4 to 5 kilometers across, and the island itself is about 2 kilometers long. But it doesn't look normal.
If you think about the depth of the lake, along with its circular shape, it almost looks like a crater that's filled with water.
What could have created such a bizarre formation? And why does it look so different from the surrounding lakes?
What forces are capable of creating huge circles on the Earth's surface?
A potential clue could be hidden around 6,000 kilometers away in the English village of Hanbury. From above, among a patchwork of farm fields, lies an unexpected circular crater filled with trees, concealing the heart of a disaster.
About 80 years ago, in 1944, the UK is in the home stretch of the Second World War. Now that's the year that you have the D-Day landings in Normandy and the liberation of Paris.
But in the rural countryside, hundreds of kilometers from the front lines, peace is about to be shattered.
On November the 27th at 11 o'clock in the morning, there's this sudden explosion that shakes the entire village of Hanbury. You've got this double blast shooting this mushroom cloud into the sky, and it flattens everything in a 1,300-meter radius.
The blast leaves a huge circular crater on the landscape. It's around 250 meters across and about 30 meters deep.
But what explosive power is behind this destruction? Could the answer be concealed below the surface?
What you've got here is a highly secret British bomb storage site known as RAF Fald. And this place stored absolutely huge amounts of various explosive munitions. I mean, this place was packed to the rafters.
That's a lot of power in one place. And if anyone found out about it, that would be a major target. So did spies discover it and plan its destruction? Was it sabotaged?
This is a part of England that has long been targeted by Axis air raids. And the Nazis very quickly claim that it's one of their V-2 rockets that has caused this devastation.
But this time, it isn't the Germans. The investigation revealed something shocking and tragic. In the pressure of wartime, a fatal mistake was made.
It's very likely that someone mishandled a live bomb. Now, the thick walls of the mine prevent an even worse catastrophe. But what happened was bad enough.
About 4 million kilograms of explosives, including a whopping 500 million rounds of rifle ammunition, blew up. It was one of the largest explosions ever in the UK.
When you see it from above today, the crater is filled with trees and plants and looks quite peaceful and safe.
But the hole in the earth remains, along with a number of explosives still buried in those tunnels below.
Could the strange-shaped lake in Saskatchewan be the result of a World War II-era weapon?
While Japan lobbed shells at a British Columbia lighthouse in 1942, and Axis forces hit the St. Lawrence River during the Battle of the Atlantic, Saskatchewan was well out of reach.
So if this weird donut-shaped lake isn't a sign of some kind of human-made explosion, what else could be going on?
What other forces can make this kind of unique shape on the landscape? Is a powerful natural force at play here?
There's another out-of-this-world possibility.
There are few known impact craters around Canada, so it makes sense to think this could be among them.
But when researchers venture into the wilds of Saskatchewan to investigate, they uncover something revealing.
When they examine the rock of the center island, they realize something strange is going on.
This isn't like any impact crater they've ever seen on Earth.
On Earth, you expect two main kinds of impact craters. Smaller impacts make simple craters, which are basically just these bowl-shaped holes. Bigger impacts make something called complex craters.
When these bigger meteors hit the ground, it's so big and powerful, it has so much energy that solid Earth starts to act like a fluid and rebounds or splashes up in the middle of the impact hole, like when a stone is thrown into the water. When that rebound of solid Earth drops back down, you're left with the central peak.
If you look at the shape of this lake donut, it looks just like a complex crater filled with water. That's what the researchers expected to find.
But what they uncover is out of this world.
Basically, the rock here is the wrong kind of rock. Whatever this central island is, it wasn't made by the rebound you see of a complex crater.
But it can't be a simple crater either, because the floor and the walls are too full of debris.
The researchers realized they'd seen something like this before, but not on Earth.
The final clue to solve this mystery can be found by looking down from above at our planet's nearest neighbor, the Moon.
Earth's moon is pockmarked by countless thousands of craters, from the giant 2,500 kilometer South Pole Aitken Basin to the microscopic dents found in moon rocks from the Apollo missions.
Because of the lack of atmosphere and plate tectonics, the moon's craters aren't subject to the same changes we see here on Earth. For example, they don't get hidden over time by things like water. As a result, these craters can tell us a lot about the history of the meteoroid strikes that form them.
And one type of moon crater could solve the mystery in Saskatchewan.
When you look at sort of medium-sized craters on the moon, from like 15 to 42 kilometers in diameter, you see something pretty special.
These aren't bowl-shaped like simple craters, but they don't have the central peak of complex craters either.
Instead, they're kind of like this in-between stage where they have some of the traits of each type of crater. These are called transitional craters. They have flat floors, one or more terraces or rock slides like you'd see in a complex crater, but with no central peak.
But can this happen on Earth?
Transitional craters form so easily on the moon because of its lack of atmosphere and low gravity. So it's easier for larger objects to hit more gently.
But with Earth's atmosphere and gravity, we don't expect quite so much of that middle ground. Anything that would make a medium hit on the moon would accelerate way more in Earth's gravity, so it would end up being a big punch, not a medium one.
Science basically thought that finding the middle ground here on Earth was essentially impossible. But this discovery changes everything.
To find something that we can confirm is a transitional impact crater, and to see that it's in such good shape, this is groundbreaking.
But then you've got to ask, how did the central island form if not through the initial space rock impact?
The crater is about 200 million years old, so it happened when the Earth looked very different from the way it looks today.
So it's hard to say for sure what factors created the island.
But the thinking is that over millions of years, wind and rain would have worn down the edges of the crater until it was almost flat. And that central dip would have filled with sediment.
Then, experts think that the movement of glaciers over the land during the last ice age could have carved up the landscape, including in this ancient crater.
Thanks to the melting glaciers, water would have filled these new scars in the landscape, which merged with the crater to form the lake as we see it today.
This astonishing discovery isn't just unprecedented.
It's the chance to study a phenomena we observe on the moon right here on Earth. This is what makes this discovery even more exciting.
Another Canadian impact crater in Labrador is already hosting cutting-edge lunar research.
The meteorite that made the Mistoston Lake crater left behind rocks that are almost identical to ones found all over the moon.
So today, NASA uses this site to train astronauts for their new moon mission, Artemis.
And this lake may hold just as many lunar-style secrets.
It's amazing to me how much we can learn about our solar system and beyond from studying features right here on Earth.
I think this is cool because we use the moon to solve this mystery here on Earth, but as we do the research on the ground, we uncover these secrets that are going to help us understand the moon.
From signs of ice on Mars and stunning shapes on Saturn, to hidden impact craters and mysterious milky seas on Earth, some of the grandest mysteries are discovered from space. And with the latest technology looking down from above, Earth's secrets can reveal the truth about space and resolve long-standing riddles back home.
I love the fact that we're learning more and more about our own backyard here in the vastness of space.
And you just know that the next find is right around the corner.